Welcome to the Bold Book of the Day with Dr. Denise Nicholson, a show that is a central hub and safe space for authors to share their stories. The Bold Book with Dr. Denise begins now.
My name is Dr. Denise Nicholson. Welcome to the Bold Book of the Day. This podcast is for anyone looking for inspiration. Today, we have the honor of speaking with Michael Newman. He's the author of this historical novel, Between the Walls. So Michael is a storyteller. Michael's storytelling is deeply rooted in truth and history. So what he does is blend fiction with reality or the haunting realities of the World War II and its aftermath. Please welcome Mr. Michael Newman to our podcast.
Thank you, Denise. Much appreciated for having me on.
Michael, you are so welcome. I spoke to you before on a pre-interview, and I thought you were super intriguing, and I couldn't wait for the audience to hear. What inspired you to write Between the Walls, or Between These Walls?
It's based on personal experience mainly, and my interest in Second World War history that I've read a lot about and have visited an awful lot of actual battle sites that happened during the Second World War. Also, some of the book includes my father's time in a Nazi concentration camp during the Second World War, where he spent 8 months and was liberated by Patton's Third Army in May of 1945. I was born in July of 1945, so shortly after the war. And it all came back to me when my wife and I were visiting Berlin in 2009, when walking down one of Berlin's streets, we noticed little brass plaques in the sidewalk. Not knowing what they were, I asked a passerby who fortunately spoke English, who explained to me that the plaques commemorated families that lived in the buildings above the plaques and were sent to concentration camps by the Nazis during the Second World War. And it really intrigued me to see who was living in those apartments now, what happened to the people that owned it before and during the war, and how did they come into possession of it. And I decided to create a story of 3 families, 2 German, 1 American, and their history during and after the war. So that's where the book starts, is a American Jeep with a U.S. Army Medical Corps colonel in the back going along the forest beside the Elbe River in Germany and coming upon the wreck of an SS staff car that was in flames. And the colonel rushing and rescuing a baby from under the body of a dead woman who was in the back of the car. And it all starts with that. And then the story progresses to 1988 when Daniel Singer, who is a curator at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, he's a curator of old masters' drawings and etchings, and he receives a mysterious package in the mail from Berlin. And he wonders what the document side could mean. And the gist of the book is, how do you deal with your history that you thought was a particular one, just to find out that everything you believed that you were turns out that you really weren't? Because Daniel was adopted by a Jewish family in New York, that he was Jewish. The documents in the package from Berlin say that no, his birth father was a colonel in the Nazi SS. So this brings Daniel to a conundrum as to who am I? Who really am I? Am I
Mm-hmm.
the Jewish kid that was brought up in New York, or am I the progeny of a Nazi war criminal? And how do I deal with all of that? And he sets out on a mission to find out how all of this came about. That's the basic topic of the story.
So, how did your family's history influence the characters or the emotional depth of this book?
My family, I was originally born in Hungary, and my family was a Jewish family in Hungary, and I spent a lot of time with my grandfather, my maternal grandfather,
Mm-hmm.
and I based one of the characters in the book on my grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
And as well, other parts of the book, I've included my father's experience at Mauthausen concentration camp into the book. A couple of chapters in the book relate to what my father actually experienced in the Nazi concentration camp during the war. Another part of the book about Daniel and Daniel's father, Colonel Samuel Singer's trip to Israel, is reflected in a surreptitious trip that I took to Israel in 2006, not telling my family that I was going during the Second Lebanon War and going up to the front and experiencing war firsthand. And some of that is not Second Lebanon War, but is reflected in Dr. Samuel Singer's time in Israel during the 1948 War of Independence.
Okay, so you have a lot of your experiences embedded in this story. And then you also said that you visited, you have visited many of the sites, not all, but many of the sites that are featured in this novel. What was it like for you in those places when you were standing in those places and then translating that experience into this book?
It was very, very emotional. I had parts of the book, for example, takes place in the Berghof, the Eagle's Nest, which was Hitler's vacation home during the Second World War in the Austrian Alps, in Berchtesgaden. And I stood where Hitler and his minions stood 50 years before that. And I could feel the weight of history, as it were, on my shoulders. And I decided at that time that I should include a scene that takes place at the Berghof in the book, which it does. And then from there, I went to visit Mauthausen, which is where my father was incarcerated during the war. And that was emotionally devastating. And I've taken all of my kids and one of my granddaughters with me on visits to Mauthausen. And each time I go, it feels like I have ghosts on my shoulder, my father's included. So it's emotionally impactful. And what I like to transmit today to people that have joined, that unfortunately, there's the old saying that history repeats itself. And we're seeing a lot of the events that took place in Germany in 1933 starting to rear their ugly heads in the United States in 2025. And I would like to warn people about becoming prisoner of what's going on out there and accepting everything that they hear and everything that they see as the truth. Because you have to go back in history and see what happened years ago and see how it is happening again. And I hope, and I hope that people have a much more positive outlook on the future that we're creating today, because I certainly do not want to see my children or my grandchildren having to experience any of the things that my parents experienced during the war. So the message is one of hope.
Thank you for saying that. I second that. I see that, we have been we have been lied to. We have, been tricked. We have been told that this is going to work for us. This is what we need. But we have not looked on the motive of the people that are telling us these things. So I can see, where, it's easy to be misled because we have not understood the underpinnings of the people who are producing these policies that are forcing it on us, that this is good for us right now. And so, yes, hope is needed. And yes, research is needed so that we don't fall for the same things that did not do so well, did not go so well in the past, caused havoc on the world, and still have lasting effects up until today. So hope is needed, but also, like you said, we need to learn from the past so that we don't repeat the history.
So well said, Denise. So well said. I think that if people look upon other people as they do upon themselves when they look in the mirror, that we are no different. Black, white, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, we are all the same.
Yes.
All have the same aspirations, the same hopes. And unfortunately, many of us are easily misled by what they call false prophets. And
Yeah, because we all have this need to feel like we are so different. But you just said it. We're all the same. We have the same aspirations. And yeah, your experience may have you thinking that you're different, you're better, but we're all the same. We all want our children to live healthy and have happy futures.
and they said after the First World War that the First World War was the war to end all wars.
This
Well,
one too.
20 years later, 25 years later, we're back in a worse war than the First World War was.
And this one is
And,
going to end all wars.
and unfortunately, since the end of the Second World War, there has been conflict all over the world. In the
Yes.
Middle East, in Africa, in South America, today in Europe, Ukraine and Russia. And unfortunately, our leaders are misleading us
Mm-hmm.
into conflict that nobody needs, nobody really wants. And the book, I hope, is serves as a warning and an inspiration not to repeat the past.
Yes. The book begins with a powerful wartime mystery. And I believe that you did that because you wanted to give a strong message early on. What message did you want your readers to take away from the choices your characters face, particularly around duty, honor, and sacrifice?
Daniel learns that his past was not what he had believed to be. And it hits him like a brick.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want people to take away from this book is look around, believe in a brighter future. Don't let the past keep you prisoner. Don't let the past spoil your future. Learn from the past and learn to discover what the truth is in the past. Don't
Yes.
just read a book. Don't just look on the internet. Study it. Find out where it all began and look at where it's leading you. And make
Yeah.
sure that you've got a clear and hopeful path.
And hopeful. Yes. That's, the operative word. Daniel's journey in 1988 parallels his father's experience. Why was that important for you to connect those two timelines, even though it was decades earlier?
It was important to show that Daniel was on a journey and that he was on a journey paralleling his father's experience and wanting to show his father that he respected what his father did in 1948 and that he believed in his father's journey and his father's experiences in 1948 and felt that he had a duty to honor his father's experiences and honor his father's.
Okay, so that was why you wanted to connect those two timelines. Between these walls had a theme of identity and strong about justice, and I believe even stronger about moral courage. Why do you think these themes are still relevant today?
Because of all the problems that we're having in the world, all the hate, all the fighting, I think it needs people to stand up and show and believe what they believe in and fight for what they believe in. And many people, when it comes to voting, say, well, no, it's not for me. I'm not going to vote. That they should vote their conscience when it comes to elections. I know there are currently elections in the United States. And I think that people need to show that they have the strength and the moral clarity to vote for what they believe in and vote for those people that also represent what they believe in.
Hmm. And yet, even with that, after you vote for what you believe in, you still have to live with the the results of the majority. Because you vote for who you believe in and who is um, exhibiting characteristics of your values that you hold so deep, and of values that you want to be passed down into your family. So you think that this is the person, but when that person doesn't get elected, it doesn't mean that your vote doesn't matter. It just means that you voted with people that you thought, or for someone that you thought is going to carry on those values. But other people, the majority voted for someone else. You still have to live with and respect the outcome, even though we don't like it. It hurts. It just gotta understand that the power that you have is still there.
Absolutely. And one man, one vote, or one woman, one vote is the law of the land. And as long as that law is respected and your vote is respected, and it's not winner take all, but there should be such a thing as compromise. And Daniel showed that because he accepted, wasn't happy with discovering what his beginnings were, but he accepted it, and he decided that he was going to chart his own course, his own moral compass in going ahead and moving ahead and doing what he did. And at the end of the day, bequeathing the apartment that he inherited from his birth father,
Mm-hmm.
the Nazi war criminal. And rather than keeping it or selling it, he decided to give it back to the surviving member of the Weiss family who had lived in that apartment and were shipped off to Auschwitz, and only one of them, Rachel, survived. And he decided to right the wrong
Mm-hmm.
that his father committed during the war by bequeathing that apartment to Rachel.
You know how important that point is? Because we sometimes think that we have to be burdened by the sins of our fathers and forefathers. And I see that even here in the United States, when they don't want to talk about race and they don't want to talk about the pain of slavery, and they want to, get rid of all of those evidence in the schools and from books and the libraries and all the museums, and they don't want to talk about it, instead of, continuing to have these discussions and doing the right thing, right the wrong. You don't have to be burdened by what the other person did, but you can find ways to right the wrong. And that was beautifully expressed, and I love that you brought that up here again, because it is a point that need to be reiterated as we continue on in life. You don't have to be burdened by the sins of your forefathers, but you can try to
Absolutely.
right the wrong.
And Daniel did not support. As a matter of fact, he negated what his father did. He thought that everything his father did during the war was wrong, and he found a way to make it right. As late as that was, because the Weiss family was exterminated at Auschwitz, other than one Rachel, and he found her, and he was able to gift the apartment to her that they had both been born in, and that he could have kept, but decided not to, because morally he felt that it was wrong, even though it went against his father's wishes. He felt that morally he had to right the most grievous of wrongs.
Yeah. As we speak, we have, some we have the war in the Middle East, the war against Israel and the Palestine, and I can't help but to think about right and the wrong. Not that we understand all of the intricate details of of that war, but one of the things that I thought was very interesting recently in the news, I think yesterday it came out, that the person that leaked the the information or about the soldiers raping the the prisoners, and that person is under such I want to say that person is it's like they want to prosecute her to the fullest, and they call her all kinds of names, when I believe that from hearing what you're saying, I didn't know. I was thinking about it and I couldn't understand, well, why wouldn't they want her to do the right thing? you know but from hearing you, I'm feeling like this may be in her eyes how she writes some of the wrongs that she's seeing in the military. She understands the war and she supports, what the efforts that the soldiers are doing, and she supports her soldiers, but yet she wanted to right some of the wrongs that she was seeing, and the way that she's being treated and mistreated. I feel like it is something that we need, not we, but it needs to be discussed, because writing, you can't change some things, but the things that you have the power to stand up and speak up about, I believe it's important. And I believe Daniel did the right thing when Daniel said, you know what, I can't bring these families back. I can't change the fact that there's only one survivor. But here's what I can do, because this is now up to me. It is in my hands. This building or this apartment, or this is now for me to choose. And I'm going to choose to gift it to the survivor. Beautifully.
And Denise, I think that rape by any side in any form is wrong. It is a war crime. And I can only applaud people that stand up and ask for prosecution. Any war crime committed by any side in a war is wrong. And you had the same issue during the Vietnam War, where the My Lai massacre.
Mm.
And had it not been for a courageous soldier leaking it on his superior, we never would have found out about it, and the individual would never have been prosecuted. And it's, in any war, there are moral people. You've got Schindler, who rescued some 1,260 Jews during the war, and he was a member of the Nazi Party, and yet he stood up against what the Nazis were doing and saved people's lives.
Yes.
And as it said in the Talmud, whoever saves one life, it's as if he saved the world. And I'm a true believer in that philosophy.
Yes. Between these walls is a high recommendation of mine. I want you guys to think about different themes of identity, the themes of justice, and moral courage. Because in these times, we need to really stick to our values and to stick to the things that we believe in, and stand up, not just stick to it, stand up for the things that we believe in. And so this is one of those books that get you to think about different themes all under one umbrella. There's also a thread of involving the Mossad and Israel's formation. I love that, what role they had, but also it opens up your eyes. It gives you a mere, like a little inclination of what that was in those times, what it was like for the soldiers, what it was like for the family. What role do you see this playing in the personal or political aspect of your story, Mr. Newman?
I hope that whoever reads the story learns from it and learns about the past, learns about the Second World War, learns about the founding of a nation, because the founding of Israel is not unlike the founding of many other countries. The many African countries that came out from being part of the British Commonwealth, and uh, nation building is one of the hardest but most rewarding things that one can undertake. And I hope that whoever in our audience today buys the book, I hope that they can uh, post any questions they have. And once they read it, if they can make a recommendation on Amazon or Goodreads, it would be greatly appreciated. And I am very, very much interested in people's comments and people's views on the book and the theme of the book and the themes in the book, and whether they got the message and whether they believe in the message that I was sending through the book.
I have a question. What is the most important message that you want your reader to take away, given that it is such a diverse and well thought out book?
The main message that I'd like people to take away is when you're about to do something, make sure that you're doing the right thing, and the right thing is what you believe in, and don't let others influence your decision. Do what you feel is right. Do what you think is morally right.
Very good. Very good. Also, guys, sometimes you think that something is the right thing to do because you don't have enough information. I'm saying that because I'm watching the news of the devastation of Jamaica, West Indies, where I'm from, by Hurricane Melissa, and I'm seeing some of the things that people are saying about aid and how aid is not getting to them, and or aid is not getting to certain parts of the country, and then the next day the same people comes out and say, oh my goodness, there is no road from this part, like people are marooned up in the hills, and it sounds like it's easy to just say, get help to them. But with that said, you have to think about the logistics of getting the help that the people need. So you may be saying something because you absolutely believe in what you're saying at the moment, and then the next moment you get more information, and then that belief may change because of the information that you're getting,
And I truly believe that those of us that have should be always ready to give to those who don't. And those who are in desperate need should be able to rely on the rest of civilization to help them.
Yes. Yes. 100%.
Whether you're in Jamaica or in Ukraine or anywhere else in the world.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That point is really necessary, guys, because when you're strong, you don't anticipate your weakest moments. You don't anticipate the moments that can make you so vulnerable because you're strong. But when you are weak, when you are ill, when you have a stomach ache, when you are sick and you are vulnerable and you can't do for yourself, those moments when you feel like, oh my God, I'm weak and I need help, think about people in the world that are constantly, or they feel that need, that weakness and that desperation, and you need help, and it's okay to advocate for people to get the help that they need, but this keep in mind, the strong is there to help the weak. the strong is there to help the weak. Michael, that's a wonderful point. You have such a big heart. Tell me your story. Where did you get this big heart from?
I was born shortly after the war. My dad was in a concentration camp. My mother was hidden by the woman that became my godmother. She was hidden from the Nazis. And there was a revolution in Hungary in 1956 that the Hungarian people tried to overthrow the communist regime, but Russia sent the troops and the tanks in to crush that revolution. When my parents decided that they weren't going to bring me up in a society dominated by the communists, and we escaped during the war or the revolution to Austria, spent some time in a refugee camp, and then decided to come to Canada and build a life here. And one of my passions, and I guess where I get the big heart from, is I volunteer at the Toronto Humane Society with dogs and cats. I spend a couple of days a week enriching their lives because they are not like humans. They can't necessarily communicate their aches and pains, their wants. So I'm there to help them through that. And I love doing it.
Yes. How do you hope Between These Walls contributes to the memories of Holocaust survivors?
I hope that when people read the book, they will see what Jews went through during the Holocaust, what agonies they experienced, and what loss they experienced. And to teach them that there is a better world out there and that you don't give up. You fight for what you believe in and you fight for a better world.
Yes.
I gave a talk to a book club last week, and one of the attendees was a 93-year-old gentleman who was alive during the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising and was then sent to the Majdanek concentration camp. And he's a gentleman that, even though he went through those terrible, terrible times and events, still believes in a brighter future. And he made it very much of a point during my book club presentation to express his views that there is a better world that we can build. And that as long as we keep doing the right thing morally, we will get there.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming and sharing this very important message. Now, where can the audience get this book?
It's available on Amazon, it's available on Goodreads, and it's available at Barnes & Noble. And in Canada, it's available at Indigo.
And it's Between These Walls. Write it down.
Between These Walls by Michael Newman.
Yes. Michael, thank you so much, but don't go anywhere yet. There are 3 questions that I love to ask each of my guests. And the first question is, what is a bold promise that you can share with the audience?
That I will keep writing. I have written a sequel to Between These Walls. It hasn't been published yet. And I've written it's titled Daughter's Vengeance. And I've
Mm-hmm.
written a sequel to Daughter's Vengeance. It is not finished yet. I've just started it. It's called Cocktails and Tehran. So I can promise your audience that I will keep writing and I will keep publishing.
You love this. I can see it. You love this writing gig.
I really, really do. It keeps me going.
Excellent. Number two question that I have for you. What is a bold statement that you can share with the audience that may cause a paradigm shift?
Well, I would say that what we're going through currently is, I'm sure for a lot of people, not a lot of fun, but I believe that there is better times coming and there is hope on the horizon. And as long as we continue to believe, it will happen. We
Mhm.
will have a shift. And artificial intelligence has overshadowed our culture, but we can't let it take control. We've got to keep control of our own minds, of our own destiny. We can't let AI take it away from us.
Exactly. We need to read and we need to continue speaking to each other and we need to write. Okay. You heard it here first. What is a bold move that you'd like to make in the future? You have done a lot and you've inspired so many already. What what can we expect from you? What's a bold move that we can expect from you for the future?
I have a screenwriting partner, and we have been talking to producers and movie studios about making Between These Walls into a feature film. And that's probably the boldest statement that I can make, that I'd
Yeah.
like to see the movie in theaters and on TVs worldwide.
Oh my goodness, that is a bold move. I'm looking forward. Please invite me when this is done. I would love to be there to see it happen, to see it unfold. It would be, yeah, I love it.
Would
Con-
absolutely love to have you in the audience, Denise, and I would, hopefully you don't mind, but when it happens, I will call you up to thank you for having me on this program.
It was a pleasure. I enjoy speaking with you. I believe that this book is a legacy and I believe that it will change someone's life. I believe that it is an important book so that people can understand where, you're coming from, how the survivors of the Holocaust and the victims of the Holocaust, what they experience. Sometimes you just need they're a fresh view, and so it may be a story that they have heard before, but you haven't seen it through this perspective. So I believe that was very important for you um, to to take on this assignment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Denise, for having me on and for allowing me to speak to your audience.
It was a pleasure.
Very much appreciated.
Thank you. I will invite you to all of the other things. Maybe you can come back because you've already written 2 or 3 books already after this one. Maybe you can come back and talk about those books.
Would love to.
All right, you've got my number.
Thank you very much, Denise. Once again, greatly appreciated. Have a great rest of the day.
Of course, for anyone out there, all the listeners, if you have a big idea or if you have an experience that you'd like to share, you've written a book and you want to get your book idea out of your head and onto paper, we have a class on Saturday. You can join for free at 1 o'clock, or you can send an email at authordnicholson@gmail.com. Let me know. What are you struggling with? Are you struggling with fear of being judged? Are you just stuck and you just don't know how to start this book? Give us a call or just drop a message and we'll help you. Bye bye.
Thank you for joining us for the Bold Book of the Day with Dr. Denise Nicholson, a central hub and a safe space for authors to share their stories. Follow Dr. Denise on Facebook and Instagram at Denise Nicholson, or go to denisenicholson.com. Remember, no one can share your story better than you.